Stugotz here for Upside. Like I've been telling you for a while now, if you travel for business, stop wasting time pricing your flights and hotels at the same old sites you used to go to. The only site you need is Upside.com. It's quick and easy for Upside to show you the exact flights you're looking for and the big-name hotels you want to stay at. You can buy them separately or bundle them together. That's what I do. You can even add a ride. And by bundling 2 or more selections, you'll experience the real magic of using Upside. See, the more you bundle, the more you save. The bigger the gift card you receive to places like Amazon.com every time you buy a business travel package using Upside. And their expert navigators are always available 24/7 through phone, chat, social, and email to help anytime before, during, and after your business trip to make sure it goes smoothly. Upside's the real deal for buying your business trips. You got to give them a try. And right now, when you use promo code Dan, you are guaranteed to get at least a $100 Amazon.com gift card on your package purchase. That's code Dan to get a $100 gift card free. Upside.com, the better way to buy business travel. Minimum purchase required. See site for complete details.
America, it's time for some straight talk. You love your phone. Look at you. You hardly put it down. But you don't love that expensive wireless plan, do you? So what if I told you can keep that phone, network, and number 2 for a lot less? Well, this is me telling you. It's time to switch to Straight Talk, guys. Bring your own phone and get unlimited plans starting at just $45 a month on America's largest, most dependable 4G LTE networks. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
Cody's in here. He's in here predicting that the Dolphin game will be Thursday, as if that's the chief concern, as if there might not even be a city here on this Friday, never mind a football city.
Yep.
By Saturday or by Sunday or by Monday.
He did say that is what Dolphin fans are paying attention to. Not the storm, not their houses, not their roofs, not anything to do with any property or possessions that they own. They are focused on when is the Dolphin game going to be played.
And he made sure that we knew that he's predicting that it's going to be moved up till Thursday. But as that was happening, Stugotz, ever in Stugotz mode, says, no show Friday. Maybe no show Friday.
Yep. I said there's a very real chance. Greg brought it up, and I was agreeing with Greg. There's a very real chance, although we've been through these before, and Phil Farrow, that guy, that meteorologist, did I say that wrong? On WSVN, that guy is a fearmonger, okay? We are always in the center. We're in the eye. The eye is flying right over everyone's house, but there is a possibility that we might not have a show on Friday. And so I was just pointing that out. I mean, I'll fly up north if I have to do the show, but there is a possibility that there might not be a show on Friday.
All right, none of you in that studio, outside of maybe Greg, have watched any of the recent news regarding this storm. You don't have the date right. You don't have the center of the cone right. There will probably be a show on Friday. If this thing hits, it'll probably hit very late Saturday night. And it did just jog a little westward, which is better news for Miami, but keep an eye on it because, hell, Hurricane Matthew last year turned north at the very last second.
Well, fear's a funny one, though, because the weather terrorists are out now and they are delighting in the streets. And fear is a funny one because we're certainly used to this around here, and we are used to shrugging our shoulders and being like, get out of here. This one's not going to hit us either, except that the news has been so pervasive lately with the flooding in Houston that it becomes very hard not to imagine our city being totally underwater if this thing ends up here in 5 days.
I mean, it's a Category 5 storm. Not only that, but it is a massive superstorm. It's roughly the size of Texas. So even if we miss the eye, we're going to be affected by this. And now I'm on board with Stugotz. We should use that Friday to put up our shutters. Safety first.
Now you're thinking.
This will be the first time I put shutters up. This is a terrifying storm. Publix by my house out of water. People, I guess it was Harvey, but people are shook by Irma.
Well, let me ask you guys this question. We are at the Clevelander on 10th and Ocean. What do you imagine it would be for all of us to be standing looking outside the window of Highly Questionable? Our TV set window is the real beach. It's not as this thing rolled in. Because I'm of the belief that the reason that South Beach has never had a lot of money poured into it since the Scarface days is because everybody knows that this is a disaster area for hurricanes. Yeah. Like, this place cannot survive something hitting it dead on when we've got nothing in the way of barrier between us and the ocean.
Any big storm on this beach would be incredibly dangerous, considering rising sea levels and whatnot. Your home is obviously always in a danger area. This is a Category 5 storm. It's apocalyptic.
Yeah.
They were saying Hard Rock Stadium's built to withstand a Category 4. Category 5, we all have major problems. It's Hurricane Andrew type devastation.
I understand, but I'm asking you specifically, what do you imagine it looks and feels like standing right there, right on, because we are on
terrifying, man.
the
Like
ocean.
End of the world,
Yeah.
end of
Looks
days.
like Houston.
And end of days type stuff. End of days.
I mean, you'll let us know because I won't be here. I'm getting the hell out of town.
You can
but
say
you let
my
us know what it
place.
looks like and feels like.
You better not stay here.
Yeah.
You need to evacuate. This isn't
And-
one of those Mike, come pick me up, my furniture's floating away type deals. You need to get on top of this.
And now that I'm thinking about it, Monday, Tuesday with the flooding down here, I mean, the show might be in jeopardy. Not just Friday, but Monday, Tuesday,
but-
perhaps all of next week.
But are you guys giving in to the weather terrorists? You
Yes.
guys are
Oh,
giving
yeah.
in to the weather terrorists.
Yeah, I'm serious about this one. I'm taking this seriously in a way that I haven't for years because we've been very lucky down here, as you know.
Well, hold on. If Harvey didn't happen, would you take this one that seriously?
I think I would. Category 5 gets my attention, and so do all the cones that seem to indicate that it's going to travel right up the state, right up the beloved peninsula. And I pray for the people in the Keys, honestly, and poor Homestead could get hit again 25 years later. I think it's going to be less the more, further it moves north. But all of South Florida is in a disaster zone right now.
You have no reason to take it seriously because everybody else is, and that means shortages of all sorts of supplies. It was Monday yesterday, and my Publix was out of water. It's absurd.
I was on the way in, passing by a Costco located off a major highway, and the gas line at Costco had to be 40, 50 cars long this morning at like 7:30 a.m.
People getting ready, Dan. Are you?
Why do you sound like you're talking about footballs approaching?
Well,
Like, why is there an enthusiasm in your voice? People, are you ready, Dan? Balls here.
It was
Couple days off, Dano.
It was so bizarre. Mike and Mike went to Stugotz as their hurricane expert.
It was really
What
weird.
does this mean for sports? What
Yeah.
does this mean for life
Did
down
Stugotz
there?
have anything
No,
for them?
No,
No, I gave them the cliche weather answers. I
Anything
mean,
could
we've been
happen.
through this before. Anything could happen.
Didn't
We're
know
all
the
preparing.
days. Didn't know the days it could land. Said the hurricanes are away. I'm surprised he knew that.
Right.
The Miami Hurricanes. He later clarified.
Yeah. So they won't be affected. Arkansas State. Unless the hurricane hits there. I mean, I have no idea.
Well,
Cat 5.
flying back from there, they may be affected.
Right. They may be stuck in Arkansas for a while. That's a good point.
Can I just ask you a question here because I'm just learning this? Like Mike and Mike, this is something that you've dreamt of, like being
Right.
on in the morning and stuff, and they ask you weather questions and you answer in ways that are cliched, and at the end of that you feel good about what you've done?
I felt awful about what I did. What do you mean? I wasn't expecting that question. I didn't want that question. They asked the question. What am I supposed to do? Make fun of the hurricane? Like, it's a Cat 5.
Should make
man.
fun of the question because
Well-
it is straight up stupid to be asking you.
All right. That's fair. That's fair.
No, you feigned expertise of some sort, which then you
I don't know why they asked me, man.
But your reflex, this is the thing that I'm talking about. Your reflex in times of doubt is not to throw up your hand, say, I don't know, and make fun of yourself. It's to pass yourself off as an expert. Like it is your reflex. This is the thing that I'm objecting to.
Right.
As an eternal force in your life.
Yes.
Like this tension that it's okay to be a very public fraud. Like it's okay to.
I
It's
think
so
I
much
do that on
funnier.
a daily basis.
I know, but Mike and Mike ask you, and you decide to go to weather. We're going to take them one hurricane at a time. You go to weather cliches.
Listen, it feels good occasionally that someone values my opinion. Whether they do or not doesn't matter, but they're asking me serious questions. I know you don't value my opinions. It feels good once in a while where someone takes me seriously.
Okay, but I'm
just for a
asking you,
minute.
and so-
I mean, the weather question, a little bit too much, but occasionally they make me feel important.
Okay, but do you feel good at the end of that segment?
I feel awful.
I don't blame Mike and Mike for asking Stugotz about Hurricane Irma. We're all anybody who lives in South Florida right now is a de facto Hurricane Irma expert. Just as if I'm talking to somebody who lives in or around Houston, I'm not going to ask about the
No,
flooding?
I don't blame
naturally-
them for asking. What I'm blaming Stugotz for is his persistent fakery of all things authentic. Like he doesn't know anything.
Right. Right.
He doesn't know anything. So they ask him, de facto Hurricane Irma expert, and all he knows is, hey, maybe we'll have Friday off.
Yeah. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got me on that.
That should have been my answer, actually. I'm rooting for it so we could have Friday off. But that would be an insensitive thing to say because no one should be rooting for any of this. I didn't know how to handle it, and quite frankly, they should not have asked me that question.
It's going to be, once again, hey, Mike, should he get fined $2 for that? He just said they shouldn't have asked him that question. It's his fault for answering it poorly.
You need to call them out when they ask such a stupid question of you. What are you going to say? Oh, hang on, fellas, let me check my Doppler radar here.
Oh, I should have done that. It would have been funny.
You don't know anything. Like this.
It's
might
easy to
be
say until you're sitting in it, until you're in the middle of it, in the eye of the storm, and Greedy and Golick, Mike Greenberg and Mike Golick, you're in the center of that in the eye of the hurricane, and they ask you those questions. It's easy to say how you would handle it, Mike.
Did you do?
It's difficult, man.
Did you do your weather terrorist bit?
I did not do that. Phil Farrow and in alignment with Publix and all of that. I should have done that. You guys are right. I mean, what do I owe? Do I have to pay someone?
You owed $2 for it's their fault that you answered the hurricane question poorly.
Man. All right.
$2. All right, let's talk about the University of Miami Hurricanes.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Hell
back.
yeah.
Back.
Not really that impressed with that performance, but I like what I see out there in terms of talent.
Yeah. I mean, there was a turnover chain, man. They are back.
Yeah.
That's it.
That really changed the whole narrative leaving that game. Because it would have been a lackluster performance, even though they put up some points. But turnover chain, takeaway chain, made all the difference.
No doubt.
It was pretty impressive, too. I saw it firsthand.
I was very unimpressed by the Hurricanes, and they've got a quarterback problem. And I'm disturbed that their young guy couldn't beat out Rozier because what they have at quarterback isn't good enough. And the game he was playing, he was untouched. Like, he just spent the whole game. That's not how he's going to live. That's not how the season's going to feel. He's got pro-level talent at wide receiver. Those wide receivers are legitimate. But I look at Rozier and I see a worse quarterback than any of the last 3 or 4 that the Hurricanes have had. Any of them. Jacory, Stephen Morris, Brad Kaya, all of them.
Well, keep in mind, Amon Richards, his best receiver, didn't play. He's got a minor injury, might not play at Arkansas State. So he didn't have all his weapons. But Amon Richards returned to the lineup, and Mark Walton, they have 2 or 3 pretty
They've got great skill talent.
Yeah, they do.
But
the quarterback is what he's saying.
Like what I'm saying is that skill talent, I would have loved to even seen it with Morris, Jacory Harris, or Brad Kaya. Mm-hmm. But no, what they've got at quarterback's not even as good as those 3 guys.
It's awful early to write him off.
Well, I'm not. Wait a minute. Whoa. Those were serviceable collegiate quarterbacks. All 3 of them were guys that, Jacory didn't end up getting drafted, but all 3 of them were guys that we thought had talent to be drafted. That's not what's playing quarterback right now that's an amateur quarterback that is playing for the University of Miami. That's a kid who looks like a college kid.
Mm-hmm. I was really concerned with the screen passes even. They seem to all be behind the backs, not really leading them. He left a lot of yards on the board.
That's with zero pressure. Like, Bethune couldn't get anywhere near him.
But I will admit, one thing that you also haven't seen when you name all those names, Jacory, Stephen Morris, Brad Kaya, you haven't seen a guy run the read option and run untouched 20 yards the opposite direction. So that's a different dynamic to this offense that you haven't had in almost a decade.
As a better, I know it sounds like I'm trashing him. Miami might have the best quarterback situation in the state.
That's true.
Like probably, I'm saying, yes, they've got 4 games here. 3 of them are very easy, and one of them is against FSU team that totally fell apart when they lost what was the best quarterback in the state.
Yeah,
I think Malik Rozier is going to be better than you think he is. He was very shaky early. At one point, he missed 4 passes in a row. They were all misfires. I thought he gained his composure and got a little more accurate and actually had a pretty decent game, even against bad competition. But he does bring a dual threat that Brad Kaya didn't bring. I don't think UM and Mark Richt were all that sad to see Brad Kaya declare himself for the pros because
he wanted a he wanted a mobile quarterback,
and Rozier does give him that.
He did seem to settle down a little bit after that amazing catch by Langham, in which the defender was all over him. That kid's going to be playing on Sundays. That entire receiving core is super impressive.
Guys, he was fine. He was 17 to 28 for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he ran the ball. I did not watch the game.
You didn't watch the game.
I don't have to watch the game.
You know, you do. If Bethune-Cookman's not in their league,
I know, Dan. That's obvious.
Okay, but what I'm saying is
one game though.
What I'm saying is that with no pressure, his accuracy isn't what it needs to be. With a skill set at wide receivers, it's going to give him a wide margin for error.
You're looking at a box score, and yes, he's completing passes. Receivers are making adjustments, but he's leaving so many yards on the field by not leading a receiver, by not putting it where it needs to be. Having a receiver have to make an adjustment mid-route, you essentially give up any chance at yak.
And it can't be fixed? Is that what we're saying?
Of course it can.
Right. Of course it can. But it can be fixed. But what I'm saying is and the point that I'm making when you're not watching the game is it's not going to get fixed when there's pressure on him. Like, that's not when it's going to get fixed. Right. And he played a game where he was unscathed because Bethune-Cookman's not good enough.
Right. And without that pressure and with a bad opponent, he had a pretty decent game, bottom line. I mean, 3 touchdowns. You know, it wasn't a terrible game. Without this pressure, it's not as if he threw a couple of picks that were just, oh, my God. You know, he played a clean game at the very least. My biggest concern on UM's behalf coming out of this game isn't the quarterback, it's the pass defense. They made Bethune-Cookman's quarterback look pretty decent. And, UM has a great front seven. But that secondary is a concern right now.
Great is overstated.
And that was Bethune-Cookman's backup quarterback. Now, the defense didn't show much. Manny Diaz didn't want to show much in that first game, obviously holding some things back for that FSU game. They were playing base defense, and Bethune-Cookman ran a completely different offense than you would have expected with that backup quarterback. But it was concerning to see D. Delaney get picked on a lot. That was your graduate transfer from the Citadel. He's apparently not used to man coverage, more of his own guy. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about that defense, which you thought you could count on. Giving up, 350 yards of Bethune-Cookman was unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, totally. The pass defense is the biggest concern right now, more than Malik Rozier, I think.
I'll start judging the team after Florida State.
Well, but you didn't even watch the game, though.
I don't need to watch the game, and I would never watch that game.
I know, but I lectured you 5 minutes ago about pretending to be an expert on things that you know nothing about, and 5 minutes later you revert right back to it.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, STUGOTZ. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
Hall of Famer Tony Perez pees in the shower. Hall of Famer Andre Dawson does not.
Stugotz.
That is the news that I bring you. I'm a journalist.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
I think this texter puts it in Twitter form, what I was trying to say throughout the first segment unsuccessfully. Miami has the best skill talent they've had in 10 years while also having the worst quarterback they've had in 10 years. Like, I think that condenses it right there.
But you're making that judgment after a game.
I saw him also play last year. You
didn't see much of him.
I know, but
2 years ago, Clemson and Duke.
I understand what you're saying, and you're right. That texter put it in a way that I think everyone can now understand what it is that you were saying, because I think a lot of people were confused in that first segment. But can't we give him a game against a good team and see how he performs? Like, let's see what it looks like against Florida State.
Yes, but
or
I would
this week at Arkansas State.
I would say,
tough game, by the way.
They're not that big a favorite at Arkansas
11
State. And this is uncomfortable for me because I hate criticizing the college kids. Hate it. But many of you over the years, when it comes to evaluating that position for that team, you guys have gotten mad at me every year for 10 years for telling you that your quarterback's not that good. And what I'm telling you now is this one's worse than the 3 that you've been yelling at me about. That's what I'm telling you.
But maybe the surrounding talent is so good it can mask some of his weaknesses. Maybe. That's all.
Maybe, and the dual threat aspect of his offense can compensate for not being a great thrower. Kaya was a good thrower. He didn't help his offensive line at all. This guy would help his offensive line with his mobility.
I do think Rozier is a bookmark. I think they're waiting for Perry to become ready.
But I'm disappointed by all of that. I'm disappointed that Perry's already not better than this. That's a little bit disconcerting to me, given my opinion on what they have at the quarterback position. And I know I sound like I'm crushing him. He's just a collegiate quarterback. That guy doesn't have that. This is what I would say to you about that guy. And Ja'Cory Harris had a little bit of this. Stephen Morris and Brad Kaya were better on this front. This guy doesn't have anything that makes me say, maybe he'll get drafted. Maybe he'll be a pro. No. Kaya, Morris, I was maybe. Here, I'm not maybe. Here, this is a college quarterback that when Miami wants to return to glory, he needs to get beaten out.
I mean, you can win national championships without one of those quarterbacks, though, no? I mean, Miami's probably
Alabama does it almost all the time.
Every year.
But guys.
Yeah, Rozier can win a national championship if he's with an elite team. If Crudup might have gone to the national championship backing up Ken Dorsey with that team.
Did you ever feel that way about Kenny Dorsey? That he could be an NFL quarterback?
Kenny Dorsey was what Stephen Morris and Brad Kaya were, with first-round talent all over the field.
Sure, and Kenny Dorsey was enough for them to win national championships.
And Brad Kaya and Stephen Morris would have looked a lot better than you saw them looking if they had all those. I mean, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that was Alabama. Yeah. They were Alabama back then.
Dorsey had a much weaker arm than, say, Stephen Morris, but he was accurate, he was smart, he wasn't going to lose you a game. And despite Rozier kind of being disappointing in those screen passes and those passes not necessarily being on the money, I still am undecided as to whether or not this guy's going to cost you a game. You wanted to enter that game hoping that he'd be the real deal, but you were also kind of hoping that he wasn't going to lose it.
That determination can't be made until there's pressure on him. You got to see him pressured as a quarterback.
Totally fair.
Right.
I don't disagree with your opinion on Rozier as much as I think it's premature. This was his second career start, and he didn't need to do more than he did against this opponent. Now, if he goes to Arkansas State, which is a pretty decent team and a tough place to play, then I think we judge him better. Because this coming Saturday, he's either going to be needed to win or he's going to be put in a situation where he screws up. It's not going to be a Bethune-Cookman where, he could play like he played and his stats were going to be good. And I think it's harsh to judge him right now. I think you want to wait for the next two games to find out who Malik Rozier is. That's me.
It's tough to take anything away from that game because the plan on both sides of the ball was essentially milquetoast, but you had receivers that jumped off the screen. You had a backup running back. You knew what you were getting with Walton, but you had a backup running back that jumped off the screen, and you were kind of hoping your quarterback would too, and he didn't.
Someone's saying on text here, as you age, you become more and more of a quarterback snub.
Okay, so you guys...
It's a fair point.
Dame was right on Brad Kaya.
What you hated him right on a lot of guys. You got to give him credit.
You hated him for the Brad Kaya take, and Brad Kaya got cut by the team that drafted him, okay?
I mean...
But he also thought David Carr was going to be the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL.
No. He's the best college quarterback I've ever seen.
He's pretty good.
As it relates to Brad Kaya, when I saw him play against Louisville, and it's when my criticism started of Brad Kaya, such that it was. I don't love criticizing college kids, but there were accuracy problems when they went to Louisville for his first game. A screen pass that should have been a touchdown ended up being a fumble because it was just a poorly thrown pass. To me, there are things that you can see pretty immediately. Mm-hmm. I watched Josh Rosen play last year. Now, obviously, that's the high end. And I'm like, okay, I see it. There it is. That's as good a young quarterback as I've ever seen. Jameis Winston included. That's as good a young quarterback as I've ever seen. What I was watching on Saturday with no pressure and with ridiculous skill talent, I was looking at it and I was like, it's a college quarterback.
Yeah, Rozier isn't better than Perry, but he is readier, which is why he got the job. And that's all Rick wants out of Rozier is what you saw Saturday. He wants a clean game. After the game, he referred to Rozier as staying out of harm's way. That's enough right now until he develops.
That's not enough to win anything. That's not enough.
Yes, it is.
No. If you're Alabama, it is. It's not enough to win anything if you're Miami. No, it is not.
A lot of people on text, you guys would know better. I don't know. They're saying Perry just got to the University of Miami late July, early August, that he's only had 4 weeks to kind of get ready for this season.
But I thought that something would happen in him getting back that would be like, okay, we've got to go. We've got to start with this plan now because I felt like I knew what. I was surprised that Rozier even won the job.
Yeah, you were hoping the kid was further along. They may redshirt him depending on what Rozier. If they redshirt N'Kosi Perry, it has more to do with what we see out of Rozier here in the next couple of weeks. But it was a tight contest between Perry, Rozier, and Sheriffs, who came on again against a backup unit in Bethune-Cookman, but he looked impressive as well.
Well, what is Cote doing here, though, when he says it's he wants to reserve judgment? Reserve judgment on what? I'm telling you, that kid's not a pro. Period.
But it's hard.
He doesn't have to be a pro.
I don't need any more time. Okay, I know.
I don't think Jalen Hurts is a pro either.
I know, but when it came, but Alabama's different.
Got you.
What I'm telling you is that when you guys came with Stephen Morris and Brad Kaya are pros, I was like, maybe. This skill set is not that. And so it's going to have to be compensated for by their skill talent. But to me, the net result is still you're in the same place that you were with Morris and Kaya.
Okay, but look, UM had 2 running backs rush for more than 100 yards in this first game. Had they wanted to throw the ball 40 times, Rozier could have passed for 400 yards in that game.
It's hard to judge off of this opponent.
It's hard to judge. Give him at Arkansas State and at Florida State, which is still going to be tough to beat.
Hard to judge what, though, Cote? That he's not a pro? Hard to judge what?
No, that he's good enough to take them, win their division, their side of the ACC, maybe get to an ACC championship.
This is the thing, though. I don't know how you do any of that with the first few games of the season. For example, the Georgia Tech team I saw last night, that team looks to me better than the Miami team I saw Saturday. But I have no idea if Tennessee's got the worst run defense I've ever seen. Tennessee was bad at run defense last year, and they were dreadful at run defense last night. And Georgia Tech lost the game somehow to Tennessee, but I have no way to make an assessment on what those teams are based on that first game. I don't know how to make the assessment. What I'm telling you is, what I saw Saturday, I can make an assessment on that quarterback. And that does not feel to me like a quarterback. Your quarterback position needs to be better for you guys to get this team to the place where you want it.
I just think you can't judge Miami as a team or Rozier until you face tougher competition. Give it 2 more games and then judge the team and the quarterback.
Can the answer lie somewhere in the middle of what you two are sort of saying? I don't know yet if this guy's going to lose them a conference championship appearance. I can't tell yet.
That's the thing. I feel like I do know that. I feel like I already
I'd say it's impossible to know that. I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's impossible
it is
to know
a snap
that.
judgment.
They didn't really stretch the field. They barely did anything exciting on offense. They were not showing their cards.
It is a snap judgment, and it is filled with confirmation bias because I don't believe Miami's ready to be back. But what I'm arguing against is people who for 15 years have been desperate to tell me that Miami is back. And for 15 years, they've been wrong. Mm-hmm. And I've been arguing with them for 15 years.
But that chain, man.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Dan Le Batard.
Can you imagine if, like, Mark Jackson was a llama?
Stugotz.
Llama? There goes that man.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
This is the portion of this conversation that I need to walk back. And I think if I walk it back this way that you guys will agree with what it is that I'm saying. This guy, Rozier, and one of the reasons I want to walk it back is because I'm just deeply uncomfortable with the idea of criticizing college kids. He's not the passer that they've had at that position, but maybe Rick can do something with his skill set to, shell game it so that you're better than the teams in that terrible conference. But as a passer, like maybe he could work and use him to get, a bunch of 60-yard rushing games. But as a passer, this guy is not the kind of passer that they've had at that position since the probation days, since like Ryan Clement and Scott Covington.
Okay, I think that's fair.
And Clement was viewed as like he was one of the top prospects.
Sure.
In the country.
I think that's fair. You don't need that to win national championships in college football. I'm not saying they're going to win a national championship with this kid, but I think what you're saying is fair. I'm just saying, unlike the NFL, you don't need one of those elite NFL prototype quarterbacks to win.
Okay, but I'm not even talking about that because the last guys that the Hurricanes have had there have not been NFL prototypes either. And I'm saying he's not as good as they are.
Right.
Like, I'm not talking about this guy's not as good as Josh Rosen. I'm talking about that even by the collegiate measurements as a passer, what I've seen so far suggests a pretty average passer, not an elite passer.
But you brought up a very important thing. Maybe this coach, different coaching.
Maybe.
Right? Maybe he's better with the quarterbacks, Mark Richt, and the surrounding talent appears to be better, right? They appear to be deeper. They appear to be more talented.
We also haven't seen him completely flash the athletic talent he has. Now, he may not be a championship-level passer. I think there's very little in the way to refute any of that, but he may be certainly a good enough athlete, and football history is littered with guys that are great athletes and not accurate passers. Hell, Dennis Dixon would have won a Heisman Trophy just based off his athleticism, and he wasn't necessarily this crazy accurate passer.
I think the combination of Amon Richards, that Langham kid we saw, Mark Walton, and Rozier's pass run ability, that option, all those things are going to come together and make Rozier a serviceable college quarterback you can win with. I don't think he's going to be great, and I do think when Perry's ready, Perry's going to be the guy. But meantime, I think Rozier's not bad. I don't think he's as bad as you think he is, and you may be right, but I'm going to judge him after the next two games, not after an opening game performance that I thought was pretty decent.
But I haven't said bad. Like, I keep feeling like you guys are interpreting my observations as being more critical than they actually are. I have said that you guys have been frustrated with your quarterback play for the last 10 years. And this guy's not as good as those guys. He's just not.
But I don't think fans were frustrated by Brad Kaya. I think they thought Brad Kaya was pretty good.
No. They were frustrated by they've been frustrated by, they're frustrated that they haven't been better for the last 10 years. And so they put a lot of that on the quarterback.
I've agreed with every single one of Dan's takes. Now, the tone maybe hasn't been great. There is one that I disagree with, though, that this guy isn't good enough to take you where you need to go in terms of winning this conference championship. This is not national title hopes type of season. If you win the conference and you have a good season, maybe you can get into the playoffs, but I think every Hurricane fan knows, if you get into that playoff, you'll start hoping and you'll start drinking the Kool-Aid and all that. But this is not about a national championship game. It's about getting to the ACC championship game finally. And I don't think Rozier, we've seen enough to say he's bad enough or good enough to decide that in any way.
This team is otherwise ready. The reason that I bring up the conversation is because this team is otherwise ready to do that. And the only thing I believe that will keep them from doing that is quarterback play. Like everything I'm looking at on the field, I'm like, yeah, that's good enough to beat North Carolina and Georgia Tech. That's good enough to beat these mid-level ACC teams. That shouldn't hiccup against NC State, but it might because I don't trust their quarterback play.
Yeah, and the pass defense, I go back to that. I don't think that's where it needs to be right now either.
Yeah, I miss Cornelder and Rayshon Jenkins more than I miss Brad Kaya at this point.
But there used to be a time, though. See, there used to be a time in Hurricane football, the time that you guys are longing for, that what he's saying about the pass defense didn't matter because your quarterback or your skill guys would compensate. And I don't think you've got a very valuable position where you've got not a question mark. You've got a guy that I believe to just be pretty pedestrian.
Right, but there was also a time where Ed Reed would leave and Sean Taylor was backing him up right there. We're not there
Right,
either.
we're not there. Yeah, we're not there. But easy schedule, right? And some things have...
I would not say easy schedule.
Well, Mike, I mean...
This Arkansas State team is good. This is a more dangerous game than Appalachian State was last year when we were terrified of Appalachian State. Arkansas State went on the road and was in a position to tie that game at Nebraska.
Right.
Arkansas State's a very good team. That is a game that I'm still pulling my hair out that they agreed to play.
I'm not worried about Arkansas State, I'm sorry. It's the University of Miami. I mean, who worries about Arkansas State? When I say easy schedule, I'm not sitting there looking at Arkansas State.
Baylor just lost to Liberty.
And Howard won as a 45-point underdog.
I mean, I'm looking at Florida State moving forward. The Canes are already 2-0 as far as I'm concerned. In fact, I have the U, and they are back. That's it. They're back. They have enough talent at the skill positions to win a national championship. They do. They are back. Plus, they have that chain. They are back. That's it.
That'd be great.
They're going to run the table.
It'd be great if your words meant anything.
Well, they don't.
It'd be great if your words.
You guys keep worrying about Arkansas State. I'll worry about tickets to the national championship game. Because that's where they're going. Because this schedule is easy. Easy peasy. Got a big break with Florida State's quarterback going down. They are going to sail to the ACC championship game. And then they're going to upset Clemson. How about that? Hey, their quarterback's a freshman. He's not any good.
He
looked awesome over the weekend.
Do you guys know, do you guys know anybody in your life who takes them a little bit to wake up? That takes, 45 minutes to an hour to sort of get moving. What you just witnessed in the mighty Stugotz was it took him 46 minutes.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't here with us the first 46 minutes. It was just garbage, hurricane.
Redundant conversation and just kept going in circles. Right. It would never end.
So finally you just arrived at a place. So you decided it would no longer be a circle. You took it out to an extreme where, okay, the U is back and they're going to, they're
just trying to end it so we can move on. I mean, you don't think he's good enough. Greg is holding out till we see how he plays the next couple of games. I'm doing the same, somewhere in between. The whole conversation was getting exhausted.
Well, that part is fair. That part I can't dispute. So I've really got to credit you for the irresponsibility of your meaningless words. Because you did. You pulled us out of that. We weren't even disagreeing. We were just running on the same hamster wheel, talking about the same thing. So I salute you for taking us off to the extreme, even though you said the Clemson quarterback you can't name played well this weekend and that Miami's going to beat the Clemson quarterback that you can't name.
Yeah. You look good. They are playing Kent State.
Well,
I don't know.
But Clemson and Penn State looked good against their meager competition. Miami, not so much. Not so much.
It is fun to see the swag back, though.
It is. Yeah.
Not just a takeaway chain. I mean, even the kickers got swag.
Oh, but you guys are nonsense.
And a mullet.
I told you guys. I mean, I've seen at North Carolina. I see because for years, do you guys remember this? This is when we started the show. For years, it was. Oh, UM's just got to get back to swaggering and playing with fun. And so they're at North Carolina and they're dancing and the defense is dancing and shaking. And look, the U is back. And then Butch Davis was on North Carolina. He was the North Carolina's coach. And he runs a reverse for like 60 yards on the play after they were dancing. Like, it would have been great if Bethune-Cookman had run past that guy with a chain for a touchdown. The U is back.
There is quite the window here for that takeaway chain to become very sad if Rozier just throws one pick six while a dude's wearing it. Just one. It stops being cool right then.
It is so Miami, though, that chain.
So
it's
great.
just perfect. It's great, so gaudy and big, and they're insisting it's real gold, which if it was real gold, the chain would weigh like 45 pounds. But even if it were real gold,
it looked very heavy.
It looked like it weighed 45 pounds.
I mean, let's not be bragging too much about how much that chain cost, and we got it where we all get our jewelry. Let's sort of low-key that, okay?
Where did they get that chain? What is the story of that chain? I want to find out the worth of that chain because I think the worth of that chain might be funny no matter what the answer is. Like, if I told you right now the University of Miami is running around with a $45 costume jewelry turnover chain, you'd think that was funny. And if I told you it's a if I told you it's a $400,000 solid gold 45-pound chain, you'd be like, yeah, that's the way it should be too.
Well, Shaq Quarterman, the linebacker, was insisting that it's real gold for what that's worth.
It looked like it had some heft to it anytime they tried to put it on.
Put it on the poll. Is the chain real gold? But wait a minute. If it is, like, somebody needs to confiscate that. I mean, like, how can this program afford?
Right.
That can't be real gold.
It can't be real.
They can't be flaunting on the sideline something that's $500,000.
Well, I don't know. How does it work? If Mark Richt wanted to buy it because he's worth a lot of money, he's very wealthy, could he buy it and just have the kids wear it when they create a turnover?
Well, didn't we already talk to that CEO of whatever university it was? He's like a billionaire, and he decided to go to Josh Norman's university and coach it. Like, if that was allowed, that guy would just be giving his players everything on the sidelines. I guess that's not allowed.
But they're only allowed to wear it for about a minute before they take it away from them and put it in a box.
You got to earn it.
You get to wear it just long enough so people can take pictures, and then you take it away.
What are the votes? None of you believe that that's real.
Oh, I
right?
believe it's real. So real. Super real. Did you see how heavy it was when they tried to put it on? That medallion would be a lot better suited, more well positioned if it wasn't real. because the medallion just looks like it's crumbling under the weight of this gold rope.
Yeah.
What would that be worth if it were real?
We should get a jeweler on the phone.
Well, that's not terrible advice from you, but earlier in the show, when we were off air, Stugotz knows what I'm going to say.
Yep.
Greg Cote's advice was to get Jason Jenkins of the Dolphins on to talk about whether the Dolphin game was going to be moved or not, or when it was going to be moved to. He wanted us to interview the public relations department of the Miami Dolphins. Why? Because he does not know what good radio is.
Well, Jay Jenk is a vice president, by the way. He's not just a PR guy.
Right. But you think he's going to tell us before?
I think so. He'll reveal it here.
Really?
Yeah.
They have to make a decision on that today, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it might be during the show. The game might be moved and probably will be moved during the show. The Dolphins are very unlikely to play Sunday at home, are they not?
Oh, it's almost no chance.
That should not happen.
Almost no chance.
It should not happen.
They're talking about Thursday or Friday night.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's still a slight possibility that it could be moved to the bye week, which Miami and Tampa both have the same bye week. So it would be convenient just to delay the opener, but that would require both teams to play 16 games in a row, which neither team wants.
Yeah, Dirk Cutter already had a comment pushing back on that. No team wants to play 16
Miami
straight.
doesn't either. Yeah.
Again, I would not know Dirk Cutter if he sat on top of my shoulders.
Okay.
Great name, though.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Would you recognize Dirk Cutter if he sat on your shoulders?
It's a porn name, isn't it? Dirk Cutter.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I could wake up in his arms next to me in bed
All right,
and not know
make it
it was
that. Make
Dirk
that
Cutter.
the question. Would you know who Dirk Cutter was if you woke up next to him in bed? That's a better question. Thank you.
And I watched Hard Knocks this season. Still wouldn't know.
Well, how you feel the Dolphins secondary going against those skill guys? You feel good about going up against Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson? That secondary?
Not great.
Nope. But no secondary does.
I know, but their secondary,
Especially,
they're
especially.
in trouble back there.
The Sun Sentinel said it's 10-carat gold chain.
So what's that worth? You really did want to talk about the chain, man. Every time I went to you on anything, and even sometimes I didn't go to you on anything, all you had
chain.
was the chain today. No, and that's where we should have been. You're right. I'm wrong on that.
I'm obsessed with with this chain.
It has 900 orange and green sapphire stones also.
Wow, I want one.
What's it worth? What's it worth? And I think based on, we should talk about whether Belichicking sounds like a sex act.